Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Kneon. I'm not here with Geeky Sparkles in this video. I'm going to talk about the video game industry, and the biggest news in the video game industry this week is Bungie gutting, I believe, about 30% or more than 30% of their staff. They actually got community noted. They tried to say that they only laid off 17% of their staff, but according to Twitter, according to X, it's closer to a third of their staff. It's not looking good. We're going to talk about the utter state of AAA gaming right now. Again, how many videos have we done on this? That AAA gaming studios are self-deleting. I believe they're trying to blame the CEOs, and I do blame the CEOs to some degree, because I think they overspent on product nobody wanted. But at the end of the day, it was, again, the product that nobody wanted. Nobody wanted what was being sold. And we can talk about the reasons for that. I don't think gamers like a lot of the current trends in AAA gaming. I think that, you know, we could talk about the political side of it, the DEI side of it. We could also talk about the scheming and the all the loot boxes and DLC and live service and all this other stuff. We could talk about gamers just being burnt out on newer games, titles that seem to ship that are not finished. And a lot of people just going back to the old favorites. They're not playing the new games. So this is this is not good news for Bungie. I don't even know what this company is anymore. It's a lot leaner. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the backlash toward the CEO of the company because he dared to go out and buy a couple of cars before he laid his staff off, which is kind of douchey. I know in Japan, the CEO is expected to fall on their sword if they failed the company. They're expected to take a financial hit themselves because it's their responsibility to make sure everybody gets to keep their jobs. And if they can't do that, then they should not be out there spending a lot of money. But we'll take a look at this. Lots of people complaining, lots of people upset, lots of people shocked. I don't know why they're shocked. And again, I'm not making fun of anybody who got laid off, but like, have you not read the tea leaves? This year has been terrible. Last year was not good. I think next year is going to be worse. A lot of people are like, survive until 25. I'm like, I don't think it's going to get any better. We've got voice actors on strike right now trying to fight against AI, but I think video game voice actors are probably a lot more replaceable than live actors and animation voice actors. And the industry is just going to have to contract. It's going to have to shrink. And it's mostly in the West, right? It's mostly AAA gaming studios in the West that are blowing themselves up. We don't see this as much overseas. We're not seeing this as much in the indie space, except for all the companies that sold out to Embracer Group. And that is a huge problem. All these equity firms that are buying up game studios is a huge problem. Yes, we've got a handful of companies that own like everything. And I've talked about that at length in different videos. But let's talk about all this. Before you get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. Guys, go out to Clownfish Gaming. We have more gaming news and gameplay videos out on Clownfish Gaming. Subscribe to the audio version of Clownfish TV and Derezzed on Spotify, Amazon, iTunes, wherever you find podcasts, and you can listen to us on the go. So yeah, this is coming from Push Square. This was yesterday. I think the news broke yesterday. Reaction: Sony's $1 billion Bungie buyout looks more and more like a blunder. Push Square says that they did not understand the $3.6 billion acquisition of Bungie. They said that the Halo creator was always something of a panic buy. Felt like the firm snagged the Destiny developer purely to stop anyone else from owning it. And many analysts at the time mentioned that the Japanese giant might have overpaid. Yeah, I think they massively overpaid, because then they turned around and they just like fired everybody. They said readers didn't understand it. They said in a poll published in the aftermath of the announcement, a sizable 32% of you seemed bemused by the news, while another 23% felt it was a bad decision. They said the idea was to establish a so-called live service center of excellence with Bungie. Yeah, that goes over so well. They said without being intimate with the inner workings of the studio, we always found it strange. Destiny 2 had long been criticized by its player base, and all the outside noise around the title seemed to signal discontent. Lightfall had a disastrous reception, And it's only the final shape that developer appears to have won back some of its fans. Is anybody playing Destiny right now? Like, I don't hear of anybody talking about Destiny. And the only reason anybody would buy Bungie is because of Halo. But Halo's gone. Microsoft has it, and they ran that into the ground too. You see a pattern here? Like, every time one of these corporations buys one of these game studios or indie studios that have a hit, they run it into the ground. So let's talk about the layoffs here. God, there's so much to talk about. The Verge says it was only 220 employees. Actually, they got community noted. Robo HTID, I don't know, on X says Bungie got community noted about the layoffs. Could it get any worse? They said this morning we shared an important update with the Bungie team on the difficult decision to eliminate 220 roles at Bungie. You can read the full statement below. Readers add context. 450 is the estimated total reduction in staff from 1,300. 220 is 17% of 1,294 to 850. This represents 34.6%. A 34.6% reduction. Bungie has reportedly canceled Destiny 3 payback following layoffs. Wow. Yeah, they're going to do a Destiny 3. I don't know. Let's go out to Bounding in the Comics. They have an article kind of encapsulating the feeling here, and we'll talk about where things are at politically. I think that has a lot to do with it. I know people don't like to talk about it, but it's the elephant in the room. It is absolutely the elephant in the room, or the donkey, if you prefer. There is definitely a political element to why all of these AAA gaming studios are failing. Destiny creator Bungie blames mass layoffs on tough economy, but fans cry foul and point to years of virtue signaling. Said this morning, Bungie CEO Pete Parsons announced significant changes for the game development studio. The top of those changes will be an almost 20% reduction. Actually, they're saying closer to 34%, which is bad. Parsons is blaming rising development costs, industry shifts, and enduring economic conditions. Basically, we're overpaying people to create games that nobody's buying. It's really not rocket science, but there it is. Because of this, Bungie will refocus its development efforts entirely on Destiny and Marathon. People said that they were doing the Destiny 3. It's canceled. I don't know. I don't really follow Destiny. I have no interest in Destiny. I played the first one a little bit, and I'm like, it's okay. It's all right. So yeah, starting today, 220 roles will be eliminated. The mass layoffs represent roughly 17% of their workforce. This will impact all levels of the company, including executive and senior leadership positions. Parsons acknowledged the difficulty of the decision and expressed gratitude for the contributions. It's going to be a challenging time at Bungie, and we'll need to help our team navigate these changes in the weeks and months ahead. Yeah, I don't think they're going to have it because they're already calling him out because he went and bought sports cars. We'll get to that part. He went and bought a couple of sports cars before laying people off. But again, if that's his personal money and it's not business money, what are you going to do? It said in addition to workforce reductions, Bungie is going to implement two major strategic changes. First of all, the studio will deepen its integration with Sony Interactive, which a lot of people thought was going to happen. They're just going to fold it into Sony. Over the next few quarters, 155 roles, or 12% of Bungie's workforce, will transition to Sony. The move is aimed at preserving talent that would otherwise be lost due to layoffs. Secondly, Bungie will collaborate with PlayStation Studios leadership to spin out one of its incubation projects, an action game set in a new science fantasy universe. So Halo 3.0. If Destiny was Halo 2.0. It's just basically another Halo. You know what I'd like to see? Bungie, if you're listening to this episode, bring back Myth the Fallen Lords. God, I love that game so much. I played the shit out of that game back in the day. I had it for my Macintosh because it's one of the few decent games you could get for a Mac back in the day, and I loved it. I used to play it all the time. I would love to see an update to Myth, but I don't think we're going to see it. So the reasons behind the restructuring were several factors. They said over the past 5 years, Bungie aimed to develop 3 enduring global franchises. This ambition led to the creation of several incubation projects, stretching the studio's talent and resources thin. They Icarus themselves. The rapid expansion in 2023 coincided with broad economic slowdown and a downturn in the games industry. Players are sick of bullshit, overpriced AAA titles. Compounding these challenges were issues with Destiny 2 Lightfall and the Final Shape and Marathon. We were overly ambitious and our financial safety margins were exceeded. Here are the reactions online. Reactions were swift and pointed to multiple instances of hypocrisy by the studio and its CEO. In one instance, ex-user Manga Lawyer pointed out how the studio spent the better part of 2 years focusing on virtue signaling instead of working on its own projects. Bungie spent 2 years virtue signaling about everything except video games. During this time, their developers aggressively attacked gamers and became obsessed with pronouns and claims of justice, often targeting white males. 2 years later, the same company fired 200 people. There is definitely a correlation between doubling down on politics and losing money. If only we had a term for that, but it's true. It happens time and time again because you alienate the core audience. And I haven't been paying super close attention to Bungie, but I imagine every June their social media feed looks exactly like you would expect it to look. And I imagine every big political thing going on or global catastrophe or whatever, their social media feeds probably look exactly like you would expect. Halo's doing the same thing. Didn't they have like rainbow Spartan armor or something? And then which was it Call of Duty that had the trans flag on bullet casings? I'm like, what the hell are you thinking? What are you thinking? Yeah, there we go. Black Lives Matter. Welcome to Pride at Bungie. Yeah, so why do they do this? Partially. Why do they do this? There are a lot of theories about DEI being tied to ESG, that certain lenders, certain investors want to see commitment to social causes before they part with their money. And you're expected, once they invest in your company, you're expected to continue to do that, right? That's part of the deal. And that is true to a certain extent. Now, we could argue as to how much influence these investors have over your company, but if they're taking money, they're taking equity, they're taking private investments, they're taking, whatever from BlackRock or, whatever. Yeah, there are going to be strings attached to it. Do I think they actually believe it? No, not really. But that part of that is, and this is how I think we got the infestation of sensitivity readers and DEI consultants in the video game industry. It's probably like, hey, we don't know how to be diverse. Well, we're going to show you how to be diverse. Here, we've got the phone number of this great little boutique studio consultancy firm called Sweet Baby Inc. You call them, they'll take care of your problems, and then we can invest in your company. I don't know the specifics of how it works, but I get the feeling that's probably how it works, right? You take our money and you're going to push our politics. And why is every company out there saying the same things, doing the same things, whatever? Because they're all taking money from the same place or places, and it's expected. I know this firsthand. I know we've actually looked at different investors for different businesses over the years, and they do have a lot more sway over your business than you think they do. They do. Manga Lawyer says, Bungie CEO, the communist LGBT symbols, the audacity of promoting Be Kind while firing 25% of the workforce, catering to the same type of people who would ultimately eat you alive. This is what happens when you prioritize sending a message over quality. It's beautiful to watch. So Pete Parsons is under attack now because he bought a car. He bought multiple cars, I guess. The Sam Bartley says, coward, you did this. You chose this. I'm already listed as do not work with, and I don't care anymore. Ouch. You lied to my face, straight to it. You also invited me to come see your new cars 2 days before you laid me off. 2 fucking days. Leave now. So they're calling for Pete Parsons to step down. Now, this happened to me too. I'm going to be honest. And I actually had an opportunity to talk to my former CEO after he did pretty much the same thing to me. I think I talked to him on the Friday before the layoffs on Monday, and I asked him where we were at with the company because my daughter was just turning like 5 or 6 years old. I think she turned 6. And I'm like, I have a family. Like, if things are not good with this company, I got to figure everything's fine. Everything's fine. I'm like, I got to figure something else out. And he lied to my face. He said, everything's fine. You don't have anything to worry about. We'll talk about it next week. And yeah, we did talk about it next week. I got laid off along with a bunch of other people next week or the following week. And he wasn't there. I got hauled into HR. They had the paperwork there and they had somebody there that was, I guess, security. I'm like, what do you think I'm going to do? Like I was a pencil pusher. I was a marketing manager. What do you think I'm going to do? Like tear up the place? It's like, geez, it's so humiliating, right? It's like you do everything you can do for this company you're working for. And that's how they let you go. But yeah, I was there. I mean, this is just par for the course. This is corporate America. This is how it works. It's not personal, Sam. And I don't know how difficult you are or not to work with. If he invited you to look at his cars, maybe he did like you. But at the end of the day, it's not personal, it's business. But yeah, I ran into that CEO about 2 years later and he wanted to chit chat with me. He wanted to make small talk and I snubbed him. I didn't talk to him. I walked right by him. I looked at him. I think I grunted or I just kept on walking because I'm like, you didn't even have the balls to tell me when I asked you directly, because I had access to the financials. And I'm like, I know we're not doing good. I know things aren't doing good. I'm not stupid. I know how things work. And yeah, he lied to my face. So yeah, I snubbed him. I haven't talked to him since. Anyway, so it does happen. Yeah, he's gone protected. Wow. Bruiser here says, a quick look at Glassdoor shows the average starting salary at Bungie is about $75,000. He spent around $500,000 on cars since the October layoffs. That's the cost of 5 to 6 positions on a hobby. I'm sure he did everything he could to prevent the layoffs. It's what he bought. He's got some nice cars. 58 Volkswagen Beetle sunroof sedan. But this is what happens when there are layoffs. And I'm not saying this is a good person or a bad person, right? I think he's probably just a corporate shithead. I mean, they're a dime a dozen. But people start to take stock of other people's money when they get laid off. And it is true. I mean, like I said, in my case, I got laid off from my one job. And I knew my boss was building a brand new house, like a freaking $1 million house. And I'm like, I know it doesn't sound like much if you're listening from like California, but in Pennsylvania, $1 million house is a pretty damn nice house. And I was like, man, you asshole. It's like, you asshole. You just laid a bunch of people off and you're building yourself a mini mansion here in the Pennsylvania wilds. But yeah, I mean, it sucks. It does suck. But how do we get here? I think that's what we need to absolutely positively address is how we got here. We got here because people weren't buying your product. And it's not just Bungie. It's Activision. It's, Microsoft. Well, I guess it's the same thing now. It's so many other studios. Embracer shutting down studios completely. The AAA gaming space is not viable. Why is it not viable? Consumers don't want your product. Not enough people want your product. It costs too much to make. You're not getting a return on your investment. If more people were interested in what the AAA gaming space was offering and they were lining up to fork over their money, things will be fine, right? But that's not what's happening. What's happening, and we've been watching this for a while, what's happening is people are going back and playing they're playing older games. They're buying indie titles. They're not buying console games anymore. A lot of them are switching to PC. Some people are perfectly happy just to have a gaming PC, a couple of older games that they like, maybe 1 or 2 live service games that they like, and then a bunch of emulated titles. And they're totally happy with that. Yeah, we did a video yesterday talking about Twitch and streamers. And the most popular video games were all old games. Nobody was playing Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. It wasn't getting views. It was all Fortnite and Minecraft and Terraria and like Grand Theft Auto 5. Those are what people are playing. They're not playing Destiny 2. Nobody cares. They don't care. And then, so you've got that problem. You should be working very hard to get as many gamers as excited about your product as possible. But then you alienate a whole bunch of them by doubling down on politics and lecturing them and scolding them, and people associate with these companies. And I'm not saying this person in particular that was calling out the Bungie CEO, but this is an ongoing thing in the gaming industry. And the reason everything is imploding is that the free money has run out. A lot of people were only working in this industry because they had access to venture capital. They had access to, safety net, basically. And it's not there now. Now you have to be profitable. And you only get to siphon off of venture capital for so long. You get like 5 to 8 years, maybe 10 if you're lucky. You get a couple of rounds of investment or whatever. But yeah, all these companies are tightening their belts because they cannot just go to the Silicon Valley Bank and take out another $20 billion loan or whatever to bankroll people for the next 5 years. So now you got to bring it. And a lot of these people are not going to be able to bring it. The smart ones, the good ones that have been laid off, I'm not talking about the people they kept, but they will go out and start their own studio or something. They'll be fine. Same with journalists that get laid off. They'll be fine. But there are a lot of people that think they're entitled to a job in any particular industry, even when things change. And there are a lot of people in video games, in Hollywood, in publishing that are in for a very, very, very rude awakening this year. And it's never going to go back to what it was. We had this age of free money, and it's gone. It is gone, and it's probably gone forever. So, take what you've learned wherever you've been, wherever you've worked, and apply it to something else. And you're just going to have to stick and move, baby. Stick and move. Going to wrap it up. Please subscribe. We'll talk later.